What's good, Liberators? Fingers here, and this is Dx2 Demon Review, continuing our Halloween spooktacular by talking about yet another Skelly Bro, the Fiend, the Red Rider, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. He rides on a red horse and holds a great sword. Can relate. He has the power to corrupt peace on earth and make people kill each other, so he has the same powers as a beautiful woman or your average Twitch thought. The four horsemen have the power to conquer and kill and are often thought to bring chaos, again, much like the wiles of a beautiful woman. To the stats. He has got halfway decent strength, a baseline of 200. You can pop that off to 220. Go full on for 240. If you use your Sin Infusion meat Tamas on him. Can't imagine why you would, but you can if you want to. Some middling agility at 163, but you can crank that up to a respectable 183. You can still pull off a demon with 183 agility on your average speedster team, and the rest of his stats are fairly middling. I would dump that last 10 Mitamas into vitality or luck, as would be your want, and he repels fire. I gotcha'd him in the Elementalist, which has him nulling ice at the moment, but if and I had to guess, he is probably weak to ice, so be aware of that. For this skills, the transferable Savage Glee, plus 25% to critical hit rate. Always a nice touch, especially in PvP, where crits win battles. As for his first unique skill, Bloodshed, activates the following chain effect after Blade of Terror is activated. Inflicts physical pierce damage with the power of 80, 50% critical rate on all enemies. Counter effects will not work on this skill, and this is great because it is a physical attack that will not punish you if you whiff. One of the biggest problems with physical attacks, well, wouldn't call it a problem, I'd call it a balance. Physical attacks are the most powerful attacks in the game, but you have the chance to crit, which is hyper mega death good, and then you have the power to whiff, which is hyper mega death. So this is a nice little, it's a nice little added bonus where if he misses, you do not lose those two press turns, which in PvP is absolutely devastating. And this, of course, triggers after you activate the Blade of Terror. Thematically appropriate, going along with his giant sword, inflicts 25% fractional damage, 1000 max, on all enemies based on their current HP. So your returns on this will diminish as time goes on. But remember, it is followed up by Bloodshed, which is just a straight physical attack on everyone. So you're piling on. You get fractional damage plus the physical attack with all of the benefits and none of the downside. With a 40% chance to inflict bind as a nice little icing on the cake there. Now, when I ran him, I did not get much use out of this guy, as I often found myself having to pass in order to set up other demons. Perhaps the team I was running would have been better suited had I replaced Red Rider. Hopefully I can figure out a team that makes him kind of the centerpiece. I'll try and figure that out. But until such a time, I will link that PvP video down below. He did get an attack or two off, but oftentimes I was having to sacrifice his turn for other demons. But you can see how this would be very, very useful. And if you level it up, you get an increased ailment infliction rate, pumping up that bind chance from 40%, adding another 20% to inflict that ailment, and the crucial PvP MP cost -1. An essential aspect for any of your PvP demons to have that -1 MP effect on. As for the archetype skill, I have got him as Elementalist, which gives him Null Ice, and I would have swapped this out if I were impressed with any of his other archetype skills, but since I wasn't, I figured why waste a resource on it, so we'll take a look at those soon, but till such a time, mine Null's Ice, which had no impact on the battle whatsoever. And I've got him with some pretty basic transferables, Enduring Soul, keeping him alive when he hits 0, a 1-time, and the Speedster, because if you're running riders, you want to be going first if you can manage it. With Red Rider, it is not as important, as Red Rider's skills are strictly damage dealing, so if you can set him up for a nice counterattack, bueno. But the team I was running required us to go first, so Speedster on every available demon is something I heavily favor doing, because if you can outspeed the Speedsters, that's an instant W for you, so I'm always piling on the speed where appropriate, especially if you have a team with middling agility all around. Even though the Speedsters is a percentage boost and middling agility with the Speedster, you only get a middling 50% instead of a Cardicea 50%, which she's got super agility, so that Speedster does extra super double good, but still every ounce of speed you can muster is very important when we're talking about PvP. And for other transferables, things to boost his accuracy aren't as important here, because the big thing you want accuracy for in your Fizz Demons is so you don't lose press turns by whiffing. With this guy, that is not the case. With him, he whiffs, dang, you don't get the damage, but you don't get that horrific loss of 2 press turns, which is devastating. So with him, you can give him something that boosts physical damage, that might help him out, something to increase ailments if you want to focus more on his bind potential rather than his physical attack damage, so Madness or Insanity, or Epitome of Ailments, whichever one of those epitomes that gives ailment boost. The Epitome of Madness, I believe it's called. That could be a good one. I think that does evasion and ailments. So you got some options with him, but hey, if he keeps it basic, you can still get him running just fine. As for the brands, I went for the life brands and the speed brands, focusing on physical attack where appropriate. And by that, I mean on the arms and legs, physical attack percentage in the primary stat. Always look out for that. And lo and behold, oh wow, physical accuracy plus 29% on the tertiaries on this. Was not trying to do that, but it happened. So, hey, all the better to ensure his damage goes off. And of course, I got him with the speed brands because, as we discussed before, I have a need for speed. As for his panels, plus 15% to physical hit rate on panel 1, which great, helps ensure that physical damage chain hits, but again, less of a focus, because again, if you don't miss, well, if you miss, you don't lose those 2 press turns, so it's kind of like a free, you're free to go huge attack on this guy and just roll with it that way without the catastrophic results of a miss. As for panel 2, gains physical pierce, which is nice, I guess, but his chain effect already has a Fizz Pierce built in. So unless you're transferring something onto him, or you're using his Origami archetype, but that's only a single target physical attack anyway, I believe. I mean, it's just giving his basic attack physical pierce, which is, I loves me some Fizz Pierce, but this seems unnecessary to me. And it's just like, yeah, okay, great, it's there, but how often are you gonna get are you gonna make use of this? I suppose the battle's coming to a close and you got one demon left in the enemy team. He's the only one left up, and that demon knows physical attacks. He can just do a single attack and finish him off. But that's all I can cook up, unless you want to transfer some Vorpal Blade or Gigantomachia or something like that onto him. This I see is kind of redundant. As for panel 3, a nice one if you can swing it. Plus 15% of physical damage, booyah. 15% of critical hit rate, booyah. 15% chance to inflict ailments. So a nice, well-rounded boost to any and all of this Skelly Bros skills. And before we wrap things up, hit up the archetype skills, see what he has on offer. As for the Origami archetype, we get the Fatal Sword, physical damage on a single enemy with the power of 140. And that's it. That is just... I guess it's got a redeeming factor in, hey, it only costs 4 MP. So that's something. That's something, but still, this is scarcely better than a normal attack. No little bells or whistles or ailments tacked onto it. It's just a single target attack. So I gotta say, no thanks. No thank you, sir. For the Protector archetype, we got Charge. I just did a charge. Next physical attack will be a damage of 125%, which could be cool, and this will play off of his chain effect, which is the point of it. So, you can charge up at a discounted 5 MP, and then his next turn, Blade of Terror, fractional damage, plus a charged up, Bloodshed, that does some nice physical damage. And, okay, I could see it, but in PvP, I would rather continuously binding or using Blade of Terror twice in order to double up on the bind potential of Blade of Terror. But that's just me. I think that extra bind potential is more useful than an extra 25% attack power on those attacks combined. For the Psychic archetype, Auto Secundo lowers enemy evasion for 3 turns automatically at the beginning of a turn, which, hey, that's pretty great considering he's a physical kind of guy. You want to lock in those bloodshed chain attacks. But again, as I said before, missing with him is not a big deal. And you lose the damage, but you don't lose the press turns, which is the most heartbreaking part of missing a physical attack. Not so much that you didn't hurt him, but that you lost all those beautiful, beautiful press turns. And the Elementalist archetype, Null Ice, which I could be wrong, but I do believe covers up an ice weakness that he has innately. So, okay, it's there. I'm looking at these, and I would say go with the Psychic archetype. Auto Secunda is probably going to get you the most bang for your buck, because not only does it operate in a physical capacity, letting you hit your enemies easier, but also that crucial defensive capacity where if you cause your enemies to whiff on an attack, oh, thank heaven, they lost all those press turns. So I would say Psychic is the big winner. And if you'll notice, for these Apocalypse Riders, each one's Psychic archetype is Auto Secunda, Auto Rotunda, or Auto Torunda. So if you're running all 3 of them, you have all 3 in the Psychic archetype, you got an Auto Debilitate right off the back, which I like. I like that synergy between all these demons. And I would say that's probably your best bet for all 3, is to hit up those Psychic archetypes if you're running them all together. And that is about the end of that for this Red Rider. On a red horse he rides. He's wanted, dead, or alive. Don't get captured. Happy Halloween.